Hello, everyone. Good evening and good afternoon to wherever you are. Welcome to the live show. This is the AthenaX Livestream. My name is Liew, your host. And today I'm joined with Leo Fun of Cysic Network, which is a full stack compute GPU uh, tech stack. So we've got a pretty interesting topic today. Talk about hardware and software. Leo, welcome to the show.
Thanks a lot for having me here. I look forward to a very nice conversation with you in this interview.
Very nice, Leo. For our audience here who don't know who you are, what give us an introduction of yourself and what are you doing in crypto?
So I enter crypto from academia. So I started my PhD degree at Cornell in 2015, and before that I did a little bit Bitcoin mining in China. So my major in at Cornell is in cryptography. So here crypto means cryptography in academia. So I graduated from Cornell in 2019. Then I spent some time in two institutes. One is NIST, which is National Institute of Standardization Technology. When I was there, I helped a little bit standardizing this post-quantum crypto, which are this public key encryption schemes or digital signatures that are conjectured to be secure against quantum computers. Then I spent some time at Algorand. So Algorand is a blockchain project started by Turing laureate Silvio Micani from MIT. So when I was at Algorand, I developed this cross-chain bridge between Algorand and Solana, Algorand and Ethereum, and it all used ZK technology. Then after Algorand, I joined Rutgers University in New Jersey as an assistant professor. So as a professor, I teach some courses in cryptography, in computer security, and also theoretical computer science to undergrad and grad students. And this is also the timing where we started Cysic. We think Cysic will bring what's where this fancy cryptographic primitives into practice to make the world more secure and more functional with a lot of powerful crypto primitives. Yeah.
Very, very cool. Leo, you sound like a super technical guy, so I'm really excited to dive in today. And we've spoken before. We talked about how you started when with ZK proofs and moving into AI compute, which kind of tells me that you've reinvented Cysic a few times. So and since you've been in the space, jumping in from Algorand and then into Rutgers. How do you think your views in personal and professional life have led you towards maneuvering the market cycles for Cysic?
So for to answer this question, we need to review a little bit about the history of Cysic. So Cysic, we started as a hardware acceleration company. And it was my experience at Algorand who actually inspired me to do Cysic. So as I just mentioned, at Algorand we developed the cross-chain bridge between Algorand Ethereum and Algorand Solana. But the proof generation is quite slow at that time. It's in the probably in the end of 2021. So we even use a very large instance from AWS. We can the proof generation is still very slow, which means we cannot actually satisfy our customers to mint things between these two chains. So Cysic was started by this inspiration to develop something very fast and in hardware to accelerate the proof generation for ZK. So it also was my previous experience as a BTC miner. Since in BTC, the job is to find the pre-image of some hash function. and we use a lot of hardware like the GPUs, FPGAs, or even like ASICs in later to accelerate the process. And I think like similar ideas can be used in the ZK proof generation as well. So that's the main reason of like start Cysic. So by the way, like Cysic is the combination of two words. The first is cipher, CYPHER, which stands for crypto. The second word is like SSA, which is like take part from the ASIC. So which means like the Cysic, we are developing some specialized hardware for crypto. Yeah, so that's the meaning of like Cysic. Yeah, but like when we develop a lot like after the form the incorporation of Cysic, we are the best in the space in terms of like speed, the performance, and also the energy efficiency. Yeah, so like as a hardware company, I think like we are doing pretty good. But then like since we are the best in the space, and some customers like reach out to us to see if we can generate the proof end to end for them. So it's not just buying license from us; they want us to generate the proof for them. And it's basically like one JSON file in, then like one JSON file out. The first JSON file is a metadata for proof. The second JSON file out is actually the proof, the ZK proof by itself. And as I think we don't have a lot in a lot of like resources in hardware. Yeah, since like hardware is like quite expensive, you need to buy a lot from NVIDIA. So
Yeah.
yeah, we have this like community. Yeah, but since like I was like previously in the BTC mining, the Ethereum mining community, I know a lot of like miners. They have a lot of like idle machines, and they are like very interested in like in plugging this like mining machine into Cysic to earn some rewards since like these machines they are idle. So that's like why we started. We expand our narrative from just doing hardware acceleration for then to do this like full stack ZK proof end to end generation. Yeah, so that's the beginning of like Cysic network. And yeah, since like and then in like Cysic network, we are still the best in the space. We in terms of like cycles we can generate, and in terms of the number of like GPU cars like in our network. And then like since like we have a lot of like computing resources, we think probably like this like ZK proof generation is not enough. We need to saturate the hardware demand from our community. And then we expand the narrative from just doing ZK to also cover AI and crypto mining. And then where this is like our expanded narrative, ComputeFi come into place. So ComputeFi is a generalized idea of just doing ZK proof generation. So we want to use our community's like idle hardware in combination with our optimized software to earn the yield for our community to make their like idle hardware like more useful in the real world. Yeah.
So, like the part that resonated with me a lot was we're talking about ZK proof generation and turning idle farms, idle mining machines into essentially compute AI farms. And there might be some overlaps, but they're also often very two different worlds. And on one hand, you've got privacy with ZK, and on the other hand, you've got AI agents that require a lot of compute power, such as very recently you've got the whole Claude bot and Mac Mini rush, where people were hoarding Mac Minis to use as personal servers for their AI agents. So, given that these two sort of products are they stand on two very different sort of edges in the tech field. Joining them together comes with some sort of like fundamental belief, because clearly for you verifiable compute matters, but why does it matter to you and also to the rest of the industry?
Right. Yeah. So for like to answer this question, like I'll start with some like example in ZKML. So ZKML is a combination of zero knowledge and also machine learning. Yeah, so like for normal human being, like we interact or not, and like I guess like everything's probably like 2 or 3 years ago with the AI models. Like we talk to ChatGPT, we talk to Gemini or like Cloud, and yeah, so like for here, I'll just use ChatGPT. You propose some like ask some questions to ChatGPT, and yeah, since like you are paying customer for OpenAI, like you are using the latest model, say the ChatGPT 4 or ChatGPT 5.2, and so you expect like the OpenAI will use the latest model to answer your question. But for from like human beings, like we cannot distinguish the results between ChatGPT 4 or ChatGPT like 5.2. So like the OpenAI, if they want to save some energy or save some like cycle, the machine cycles, they can just use ChatGPT to answer your question, and we cannot tell the difference. But like so this will save some machine cycles like for OpenAI, but it will hurt the benefit of our paying customer. Using ZK can solve this question. So like we can always like attach a ZK proof as a certificate to certifying that they are actually using the specified model to answer your question. And yeah, the inference result is based on the model based on your input. Yeah, so this ZK proof will be basically like a certificate for the inference result. Yeah, so in this way, this like verifiable computation matters or not. It can say like it can actually force these like big companies to do what they are like supposed to do, like not to also like save some cost. And for customers, we're actually getting the most accurate result. We are just we won't use the secondary or even like the third class of like result like from OpenAI. Yeah.
I
So
see.
that's like yeah.
I see. So that means like you're the policeman, right? In a way, because you're making them accountable and to actually deliver on what was promised from these AI companies.
Right, yeah. So we are providing some I would say like some certificates to make sure like people are actually getting the things they are paying to. Yeah.
Right, right.
Paying for.
So let's talk about this ZK certificate and how is how is Cysic essentially distributing these certificates?
Yeah, so to be honest, like right now for the like AI inference results, the current GPU powers they are not very efficient. Like also like we try our best to optimize the software, but it still takes about like more than seconds, more than 10 seconds to generate a certificate for this like ChatGPT 5.2 inference result. And as you know, like usually we just wait for probably like 1 or 2 seconds like for the result. But if you want to wait for the certificate, it's like more than 10 seconds. So that's I guess like probably like in my perspective, normal user is like not very tolerable. Um,
Yeah, it's way too.
so yeah, it's way too long. So there are some like compromise we can do. We can use like TEE to certificate like part of the computation where like it's not very related to the input. And then the TEE result will be combined with a ZK proof to get a full certificate. So that's like one way to solve this issue. It's a compromise issue. It's a compromised solution. Since like if you using TEE, then you put your trust in the hands of like big companies such as like Intel, which they have the SGX. Yeah. So and as you can see, like every probably like 3 or 4 months, like people come up with like new side channels to attack the SGX. And yeah, so like in my perspective, it's like very risky to put this like high value data like in this like TE. Yeah, and the second solution is to come up with some specialized this like ASIC chips for ZK, and the ASIC chips can be since like our internal research shows like the ASIC chips right now is at least a 2 order of magnitude faster than GPUs, like in terms of like ZK proving. So in that way, like we can basically reduce the time of generating one ZK proof for ChatGPT 5 from like more than 10 seconds to like less than like 1 second. So which is like tolerable, acceptable. Yeah, so that's something like Cysic right now we are exploring the specialized chip for ZK.
Wow, that is some super stuff. I think when it comes down to corporations adopting ZK certificates or any sort of like new tech in general, essentially the rule of thumb is if it increases profitability by 50% or reduces cost by 30%, essentially they would want it. In this case, for Cysic, do you see a future where these bigger corporations would implement the Cysic network into their services?
Yeah, so I think that some big companies they are very open to this idea. Yeah, so like previously, like there are some big companies such as like JP Morgan. So internally, they use like ZK to speed up the clearing behavior like internally. So like using ZK, so like there are like two nice properties of ZK. The one is their knowledgeness, which will lead to the privacy. The second is the succinctness, which leads to the efficiency of like computation, efficiency of like verify the computation. So like some like JP Morgan is previously they use a second property to solve some latency or throughput issue internally. And then there is like Ernst and Young. Ernst and Young is a auditing company, I think. They are
Yeah,
using a first,
or
yeah, they're using the first property, their knowledge just to make sure like the auditing report they are generating doesn't leak any private information about their customers. It's but still showing like the result satisfy the compliance, but without leaking any sensitive information. So yeah, so this like big Wall Street company, they are like open to these ideas. Yeah, and also like there are a lot of like uh, tech companies such as Google, where they just using like ZK login instead of this traditional SSO single sign-on themes. Like yeah, they use like ZK to preserve the identity information of the users while still verifying they are the right person to log in. Yeah, so like in my perspective, like the big companies they're like very willing to use new technology as long as the technology is easy to use and can bring some real benefits like to them. Yeah.
nice, nice. And I really like what you said that the demand is validated from these bigger guys. Let's take a step backwards, right? And let's talk about something a little bit more recent. You released your mainnet, and if you go on Twitter right now, you would see that Cysic is in their mainnet arc. I really like that sort of storytelling there. So we let's go in the direction of like revenue here, right? So what is essentially the goal of the mainnet for Cysic, and how does that translate into revenue for the adopters?
I see. Yeah. So we record like I said before, like some customers like reach out to us, or some like ZK projects they reach out to us to see if we can generate the ZK proof for the like end to end. Yeah, so the main purpose of this mainnet is to record all the transactions, and the transactions like for each transaction is it's like to say like how the blockchain picks the prover for this specific task, and how the verifiers are picked to verify the proof generated by the prover. So we basically record like all this each step in the end-to-end proof generation on our blockchain. And also in addition to that, the proofs like we generated for our customers, we also recorded on in our blockchain. So like our blockchain, like the initial purpose is to record everything like generated in Cysic network, the selection of provers, the selection of like verifiers, plus the proof data like in our blockchain. And then since like blockchain, as you know, you cannot basically change anything in a blockchain. So we use this nice property to record all the behaviors on chain. Yeah, but as we like expand our narrative from just a ZK prover marketplace into this like ComputeFi network, so this idea of like record like everything on chain can also be used to expand to the AI computation, which consists of like AI inference, AI training, and plus the crypto mining behavior. Yeah, so that's the main purpose of having the mainnet like for Cysic.
Super, super. So let's imagine a perfect world, right? Where Cysic is the go-to name for ComputeFi and Web3. You want cheaper computing costs. You want more powerful computing costs. You go to Cysic. You want cheaper and lower ZK proof generation costs. You go to Cysic. For that to happen, the jump, how far are we from that jump today into that future? What essentially needs to be designed and built?
Okay, yeah. So like our main purpose or like our vision, yeah, is to make people think about something like this. When they think about like something as compute in the Web3 or in the crypto community, the first project come into impression like in Cysic. It's like very similar to the idea like when you think about like storage in Web3 community, the first thing comes into your mind will be like IPFS or the Filecoin, and we want to replicate this idea, like, but to put it into the compute aspect. But like, I guess we are moving like one step ahead of like Filecoin in terms of storage, since like Filecoin is just providing the storage, like the idle disk for people to store their like files, like their pictures, like or their like docs in IPFS. So, but like in Cysic, we are like moving one step further. So in addition to just providing all this idle hardware, we are also like doing a lot on the software to optimize the software or come up with like new implementations of the software. So this software combined with the hardware will earn a much higher yield by just providing compared with just providing the hardware. Yeah, so like recall like I mentioned some like ZK projects before. So like they are previously if they use the same hardware, they can generate a ZK proof say in like 1.5 hours. But with our hardware plus like our software, we can reduce the time from 1.5 hours into 15 minutes. And then that's the reason like why this like projects they want to work with us. And yeah, probably like you are thinking like if we just doing something like a tenor for one project, then it will be like our team manpower will be the bottleneck. But actually, like the things like we work for, we customize for one project can also be expand or be generalized to cover a very large category of projects. So which means like our manpower is not our bottleneck. We can use almost the same software to cover a lot of like other projects as well. And this coverage is not only limited to the ZK category. We are also expanding to the AI category. So using our software will like bring you like more yields on the same hardware. So and then if people have this like impression or people realize this is a fact, then they will plug in like more idle hardware into Cysic network. And with more idle hardware, then we can use our like software to attract more projects to use our servers. And then that's like how the flying wheel is like running like for Cysic. So more hardware will attract for more customers, and more customers will bring in like more higher yields for the hardware providers. Then like so that's how the flying wheel is going.
Nice. Let's go into that, because I really like
Okay.
talking about, this flywheel that you have, because this is essentially what everybody loves to talk about flywheels when we mention the word DeFi or some sort of fi here. So clearly you solved some problems with ZK proving, and uh, or at least you've taken it to the next level. So if, let's say, I was a company coming in with I was a ZK company, and I have all of this different sort of like needs and wants for my product, and I wanted to come on board into Cysic, right? Give me an example of how that onboarding would work, and what would the building principles for myself be when I approach you?
Okay, yeah. So internally we have a ZKVM. So the ZKVM basically allows you to convert or to compile any like program written in Rust or Python into a sequence of opcode which will run on this like ZKVM. And this like a sequence of opcode will also generate I will say an IR. So IR stands for intermediary representation of the actual like circuit will be proven using a specific like proving backend, which is the most efficient one. So like if a ZK project they come to us like they have their so either they have the program written is like Rust or Python, then we can convert it into the opcode on ZKVM. Then we can use a backend to generate the ZK proof for this specific Rust or Python program. And we say if you are satisfied with the results, and normally the project will be like satisfied for the results. And if that's a goal, then we can put this like project on Cysic network. So Cysic network we have internally we have this like VRF which allows the blockchain to uh, pseudo randomly select a bunch of like provers to compete for a specific proving task. And this proving task will be this like projects this like Python program. And then after the proof is generated, then the same procedure will happen for a bunch of like verifiers. And the verifiers, since like due to the nice property of like ZK, verifying a ZK proof require very little resources. So people can just use their cell phone. We have a mobile application called MyCysic. Yeah, so the MyCysic people can use their cell phone to verify the ZK proofs. And the proof verification takes about 50 milliseconds on your cell phone, and you use the very little hardware and also bandwidth resources. Yeah, so like
Oh,
then yeah, so like a bunch of like verifiers will be selected pseudo randomly based on the VRF to verify the proof. So after the proof is verified, it will be settled on Cysic, and then we will provide the network will provide like a JSON file which contains like where you can retrieve this like proof on chain. Yeah, so that's how the whole process is going. Yeah, so this like this like customer projects, they are unready to say whether they are satisfied with our location, with our performance, and then like we say like how we can incentivize the provers, the verifiers to do the job for them. Yeah, it's like if they have a token, then we can say we can calculate, we can discuss with them to see how the token of the project can be like used to swap into like CVS token, then use CVS token to incentivize our provers and verifiers. Yeah.
nice. So if it's for someone who, doesn't have a lot of technical knowledge, how long does it take for them to get started?
So usually it's like about like 2 to 3 weeks. Yeah, they don't need to be like a ZK expert, expert, since the main purpose of the ZKVM is to remove the barrier for the non-experts of ZK. Yeah, you only need to focus on like writing programs in Python, in Rust, and all the other things will be handled by us, by the ZKVM, and also by our like previous verifiers. Yeah, you don't need to worry anything about the ZK part. You just need to focus on your own work. Yeah.
Do you think my Claude bot that's on a Mac Mini could access this pretty easily?
Yeah, like, so that's like another issue here. So like I assume like you give access to the cloudbot or not. Like you give access of your probably like personal emails or all the other things of the to the cloudbot. And of course you don't want to leak any information about that, which means the ZK proof needs to happen like um, locally on your machines. Probably like after that, this like proof will be aggregated with other proof, and then to settle it on our chain. So like we can still have a solution to have like verifiable computation for you, but it will be carried out more like differently, since like it's right now like we care more about the privacy of your data.
I see. Okay, nice.
Yeah.
So tell me what's coming next for Cysic, right? Or maybe okay, maybe in terms of what's like the future of mining, like what's gonna happen there?
Okay. Yeah. Um, So I would say like we have like several like exciting products coming in the next months. Yeah. So one thing is like the ZKVM. We internally, as I mentioned, like we have a ZKVM, and this like ZKVM will be coupled with R builder from Flashbot to have this like ZKEVM node on Ethereum, and this actually like realize the dream from like Vitalik, I guess. So Vitalik said something about that in the end of last year or beginning of next year. So like we can realize this dream, and we are going to present the whole result at the ECC in Cannes this April. So that's one thing. And with this like ZK node, we are essentially having I would say it's very similar to proof of work renaissance. Yeah, so like record like previously like Ethereum they have the proof of work, and then happens the like they shift from proof of work to proof of stake. Yeah, but like using the like EVM nodes, like we are essentially like generate a block combined with ZK proof. So that's like probably like the essence is like very like it's quite similar to proof of work. Yeah, so that's like one thing. And second, we have a lot of like product coming from Cysic AI. Yeah, so like probably like in the next 2 to 3 weeks, you don't need to host your CloudBot on your local Mac Mini. You can host it on our Cysic AI, and we will use the TEE plus ZK to make sure your sensitive information is not leaked to others. Yeah, and we are also like proving all the things like on chain. Yeah, doing proving all the things like off chain, but verify the things like on chain, verify the computation on chain. So like that's something like happening for the Cysic AI. And last but not least, we also like right now we are talking to a lot of like uh, hardware manufacturers to form a coalition. And this coalition will be like to develop something, develop some like hardware products. And this hardware product will be used to realize the ComputeFi narrative. So like when we talk about the ComputeFi narrative, it's like too abstract, too high level, and there is not a concrete or like product to realize it. Well, like it will be people will be like tangible for people to touch, and this like coalition we are right now forming will like come up with some like nice products such as previously we mentioned Dashbox or Dash Server or ZK Air or ZK Pro. And this like all this hardware will be used to realize the ComputeFi network, the ComputeFi narrative. And this hardware product will be like earning yield like for people, even if like people are away, like you just plug in, then you control all the things on your phone application. Yeah, so that's the third thing. Like yeah, so a lot of like exciting things coming to Cysic.
Yeah, truly, definitely very exciting. Your own mining machines and pretty much idiot proof to a certain extent. So I love that. We are approaching the final ends of the live stream. So maybe Leo, a very quick one. If you could let the audience walk away with one thing today, what would it be?
Okay, so that's a tough question. Yeah, so yeah, probably like if there is just one takeaway, it is something like this. So we are transforming the most valuable assets, the computing resources of AI, ZK, or whatever like computation there is, from this scarce resource where like only a few people can handle to a like shared economy where like the community owns it, like everyone in our community they own this like computing resources or they own a fraction of that. So right now the computing power is like very expensive. If you want to maintain like a mining machine, maintain a GPU server, there is like a lot of like time or energy cost or even like money like you need to spend. It's just too expensive and very slow for specific competition, and it's also like very hard to access. So Cysic, we are like building ComputeFi. So you can think of it as a Airbnb for compute. So this narrative or this like efforts, we unlock a future of abundance. So we envision a world where your hardware will power the next generation of the internet, which is a blockchain, and then in return you share in the value so you can help a lot to create.
Nice, nice. What is the best way that people can find you and get involved today? Right
uh
after this.
yeah, so I guess like normally like I'm in this like conferences such as like consensus Hong Kong, or like the next conference I will be like the ECC like in France. If you want to meet in person, just shoot me on like DM on Twitter. And also like I can be reached from the DM on Twitter or like my emails. If you search like Leo Fan on Google, you can find my personal webpage, and there are some like emails like you can use like to communicate with me. Yeah,
Amazing. And for the viewers as well, don't forget the Twitter profile is at Cysic_XYZ.
yeah.
Okay, and we have reached the end of the live stream. Leo, thank you so much for coming in and sharing with us today your thoughts about GPU and how you're turning that into ComputeFi. It was an amazing time talking to you.
Thanks a lot for the opportunity. I really enjoy our conversation.
Thank you, thank you. And to the audience, I will see you at the next stream. And this has been a good one. And I'll see you at the next episode.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. See you soon. Yeah, bye.